students that are transitioning from high school to college. So if you have a high school student that's transitioning to college, this program is for you. If you have a student that's leaving home for the first time, this seminar will be for you. Dr. Eatmon will present some valuable tips on transitioning from high school to college. If at any time you have any questions, please don't hesitate, raise your hand, and we'll answer those questions as promptly as we can. At this time, we will go over some house rules. Since this program is being recorded, we would like to read over the media release. In accordance with the terms of the participation agreement, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Delta would be filming, recording, and photographing the event for use in Delta promotional videos, photography, advertisements, social media platforms, web pages, and other future Delta events, as the case may be, the production. As specified in the participation agreement, participant and participant's parent guardian, parent and participant's parent guardian together, participant via continued participation in and by continuing to remain logged into this event, hereby acknowledges that the participant may be photographed, filmed, or otherwise recorded while on the premises of the event, grants Delta, its successors, assigns, and licensees irrevocable consent to include participants' name, likeness, photographic image, mannerisms, and voice or other recording media in the production or for the exploitation for any purpose whatsoever in any and all media now known or hereafter devised throughout the universe in perpetuity without compensation and or credit. Represents, warrants, and agrees that Delta holds and shall forever hold all display, publication, and ownership rights, licenses, and privileges to any and all media, whether in law or equity, which may be asserted, ascertained, registered, or in any way utilized with respect thereto. Rights. And waives, releases, and transfers as the case may be, any and all such rights, whether in law or equity, as may be necessary or required to effectuate Delta's establishment of ownership. Participant further agrees to abide by and comply with any and all of the terms and or additional participation rules as applicable and specified during relevant sections of the program, and acknowledges, understands, and agrees that violation of such participation rules shall result in legal recourse and disciplinary action. Thank you. Megan.
All right, welcome everyone. So thank you, Brenda. My name is Megan. I'm also with the Burlington Alumnae Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta, and we are so excited that y'all are joining us today. We're grateful to our guest speakers and panelists who will be both sharing a little bit about what to expect from college, how to prepare for college, and then really personal experiences in terms of how we are actively enjoying the college experience and opportunities for growth, how it differs from high school. So we absolutely hope that everyone here will gain something out of this. And in addition to the college focus program, we're really excited to also present community awards, including the Community Jewels and our Sisterhood Award. So with that, we welcome you, and I will pass to Soror Tap to open us up in prayer.
Doesn't seem like Soror Tap is on, so we will have Miss Phyllis Moore.
Good evening. Let us pray. Father, in the name of heaven, thank you for today and the gift of life. Thank you for everyone that is gathered on this call. You have protected us down through the years and against COVID-19. Your unconditional love has enabled us to come to this place where we are healthy and ready to start our meeting. And for that, we thank you, Lord. Let everything that is discussed here bring glory to your name and nurture the bonds of the Burlington Alumnae Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Sora Moore. This evening, I'm Dorinda West, President of the Burlington Alumnae Chapter. Today, I will be presenting our Community Jewel Award and our Sisterhood Award. I'll begin with our Community Jewel Award. This award is awarded annually to a member or group that has demonstrated continued service throughout Alumnae County and Caswell County over the past year. The nominee for this award must not be a Delta, must be of middle school age and up. Their service must make an impact on the Alumnae and Caswell County community in at least one area of Delta Sigma Theta's 5-point thrust. They must also demonstrate documented service over a minimum of 3 years in Alamance and Caswell County, and their volunteer service must not be solely associated with a sorority or fraternal organization. The nominee must not have been previously recognized by Burlington Alumnae Chapter, and their service cannot be solely financial. This year's Community Jewel Award will be presented to Alice Robinson of Caswell County. Unfortunately, Ms. Robinson is not able to join us tonight because she does not have service out in her area of Caswell County. So our soror, Beverly Willis, went out earlier today to present the award to her. And I believe there's a picture of her on your screenshot.
Sweet.
With the award. So they did make it out there today. So congratulations, Soror Robinson, for all that you do. And next, our Sisterhood Award, our Benita Kearney Sisterhood Award, is an award that our chapter votes upon annually as well. Our Sisterhood Award is provided to one of our sorors that is a current member of the Burlington Alumnae Chapter, shows participation in chapter events and meetings throughout the sorority year, clearly demonstrates the spirit of the 9 cardinal virtues of Delta Sigma Theta and our Delta Oath. She also shows dedication to serving the Alamance and Caswell County communities, Burlington Alumnae Chapter, and our sorority as well. She possesses a sisterly attitude and motivates others to do the same. And I am very excited this year to present this award to this soror because I can't recall maybe once. She's probably missed one event this year, but she's always there. She answers my calls all times of the day, all times of the night. If I ask her to do something, she turns it around just like that. She's always happy and always excited. So I'm proud to present this year's award to Soror Megan Stanley for our 2020-2021 Sisterhood Award. So she will be receiving a certificate, and we have a nice plaque for Soror Stanley. So congratulations, Soror Stanley.
Thank you so much, Madam President, and the full chapter. Thank you.
Thank you for all of your hard work and your service. We appreciate all that you do. And now I will turn the program back over to our May Week Committee.
Okay. At this time, we will have Soror Moore to introduce our speaker for the evening.
Okay, thank you so much, and congratulations, Megan. Dr. Dedra Eatmon is an educator and college transition coach. She spent the past 2 decades in education, working with students who were often going through change and navigating the transition from one phase of life to another. Based on that experience, Dr. D encourages students to take ownership of their college experience and learn to navigate their new environment. Because the first year of college is so critical, she works with entering freshmen to achieve college success. Dr. D began her career as a software engineer, and after transitioning to education, has held a variety of roles ranging from lecturer to program administrator. Her professional experiences include software coding and development, along with teaching mathematics, computer science, reasoning, and academic success. Her first book, College Ready 101, a field guide for a successful freshman year, was released February 2019. Dr. D is a graduate of North Carolina A&T State University, North Carolina State University, and the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. She lives in Greensboro, North Carolina, where she teaches high school and operates Tassel to Tassel. And she's also a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So I now present to you Dr. Dedra Eatmon.
Thank you, Sora Moore, Sora's a Burlington Alumnae Chapter. I appreciate you having me here tonight. I also appreciate the time that everyone is taking from their evening to be here for tonight's program. So to respect your time and make sure that I do my part in getting you where you need to be, whether it's dinner or a nap, I will go ahead and get started. As Sora Moore mentioned, I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. I am currently what we call an at-large member. And so that means that while I remain active in the sorority, I'm not affiliated with a specific chapter. So it allows me to kind of be a little bit here, a little bit there, do lots of different things. But tonight I'm coming to you in my capacity as the founder and transition coach at Tassel to Tassel. So tonight's program is beyond high school. And my focus is on how to take students from being college bound to being college ready. They are two totally different things. I will talk to you about them as we go through this program. If you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me, raise your hand, or just throw something in the chat so that we can make sure all of the questions are answered. So I want to start off with a little bit of a story. Imagine your child or you going off to college, being admitted into the honors college of your college of choice. You get there, you do all the things that you know to do, all of the things that worked for you in high school, and in your mind, you're making it happen. And somehow, towards the end of the semester, right around Thanksgiving, you realize that you're in jeopardy of being on probation. And in fact, you do end up on probation. Better yet, because I know we have some parents here with us, imagine being the parent of that child who pre-COVID, when you called, they would say, hey, everything's fine, only to find out at the end of the semester, everything wasn't fine. And so whether you're the student in this scenario or the parent in this scenario, you're wondering how you got here. And how you got here is because adulting is hard. Freshman year of college is your preview into adulthood. You're not quite you're away from home, but you're not quite completely on your own. And so when you have to add all of these different factors that come with college, like study skills and responsibilities, having a different social environment, particularly for those of you who are going to college in the fall as things begin to open back up, using office hours with professors, managing your time, having these new relationships, and the freedom that comes with being a college student, you start to realize that every time you think you have things together, you don't always have them together. Now, there are some people who do. They hit the ground running. They're doing it like nobody's business. But what I have found from a lot of interaction with freshman students and some of my own freshman experience, way back in the day, I know that sometimes it is hard, and getting a grip on that is hard. So as Sora Moore mentioned, I am a product of the UNC system. I am a first-generation student and engineer by trade, and what I learned after about 15 years is that I'm an educator at heart. So I've taught in high school and college. I've been to a couple of different universities, and all of my experience in terms of education have come from UNC schools. So through that, I have had the opportunity to work with a lot of students. And now that you know about me, I want to find out who's in the room. So I'm going to ask you to use a feature in Zoom that will allow you to put a little sticker next to kind of who you are, so I can kind of figure out exactly who I'm talking to. If you go to your Zoom toolbar that for some of you may be hidden, and it appears as you roll over the what is that thing? The menu. If you go to annotate, when you get to annotate, there should be an option for stamps, and you click on a stamp. It could be a check mark, a heart, a star, or something. But if you could do that and put it next to the category that you're in, it'll really help me kind of figure out where to focus for tonight. I think it may be under options. Yes, thank you. So if you're on your computer, move your mouse to the tip of the screen and click on view options. And then you click annotate. Thank you. As the screen sharer, I always forget that's where it is. Okay. Okay. So some parents. I know we have a few early college students who are early in their college career here as well. Okay, got some people who are using the mouse to draw. Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, I'll give another few seconds because I know sometimes when you're trying to locate things on your computer, it takes a minute.
Dr. Eaton,
Yes.
I see it, but it's grayed out.
Okay.
To choose it, what does that mean?
If you should be able to click on annotate and then you'd get another menu. I think you can.
Annotate is grayed out. Okay.
So it's completely disabled even if you click on it. And I asked because mine is gray too, but when I click on it, it gives me the options.
Okay, let me see.
It's okay if you can't do it. Okay. So I have someone here who's not quite in high school. All right, well, I'll do what I can to hit a little bit of everything. I may not have a slide for everyone, but I'll definitely touch on everyone's category. So thank you so much for doing that. I love a little bit of participation. Makes me feel good. All right, I do it with my high school students to make sure they're awake because that's sometimes an issue. So what I'm gonna do tonight is talk to you a little bit about college ready from an academic standpoint, and then I help identify some of the personal habits that are helpful for students as they both prepare to go and once they arrive in college. I talk about a college ready mindset. I'm going to share with you what I mean by that. And then this idea of engaging sooner rather than later and being able to proactively prevent the pitfalls as opposed to having to react to them. Simply because that's what I experienced as a student, and that's what I see a lot of students doing. So we're going to walk through all of that tonight. All right, so college bound versus college ready. This definition is something that I have to say I found at some point doing some type of literature search for something I was writing. But being ready for college means that a high school graduate has the knowledge and skills necessary to qualify for and succeed in entry-level credit-bearing college courses without the need for remedial coursework. And I think a lot of our conversation around college ready, honestly, is college bound, qualifying for college. As someone who's taught K-12 and someone who's also taught on a university level, I see the ways in which we do and we do not prepare our students for college success. Some of it is just by circumstance, and there's not a lot that we can do to help them almost simulate that college type environment. And then some of it is because of the choices that we make and the choices that we're making for our children and the choices that our children make. And being able to succeed in college when they get to college and navigate that environment is what makes them college ready. So College bound and college ready are two different things. They're closely related, but my mission is to help more college bound students get to college ready so that they have more options after graduation. We had a ton of lovely graduations this past weekend. Many of them were in person. Students are excited, and I want every student to have as many options as possible, and that starts during their freshman year. So when we think about college bound, we think about grades and standardized test scores, all of the things that go into a rich college application, like these extracurricular activities, being involved in service, writing wonderful essays. Those are great. Those are the things that help our students qualify for college admission. Now, once they get there, admission is just the beginning. College-bound students aren't always ready to go to college. As of like 2016, which was the most recent data that I could get from one of the reports, only about 40% of students who graduate from high school and are on their way to college are considered college ready. So what do I mean by college ready? I mean students who are ready to dig in because they have the discipline, which is going to be a lot different than some of the things they did in high school, the intention to do well, and a growth mindset. I'm sure we have a lot of educators in the sorority. We might have a few on the call as well. That growth mindset says just because I can't do something now doesn't mean I can't do it eventually. I have to work at it. I have to practice it and not be discouraged if it doesn't come easily the first time around. And we know a lot of our students, particularly some of the wonderful students that we work with who show up at programs like this, are bright, they're ambitious, and they're able to do a lot of things easily. And when they get to college and things are different, it's a little bit of a challenge to transition into that space where we're not feeling as though we're being evaluated on how quickly we do something or how right we get it the first time around. So I talk about college readiness, and there are 4 key factors. Cognitive strategies and content. That's the stuff our students get in their K-12 education. They understand all of the things around all of their courses, and they know how to do things like write wonderful 5-paragraph essays and diagram sentences, and they can follow processes to solve problems in like STEM. The things that they don't have always when they get to college that lends itself to this 40% who are ready are the bottom 2. Academic behaviors, learning as a college student and not necessarily as a high school student, where they might have to interact with faculty and staff, where they have to put in more time to learn things that they thought they knew. For instance, high school chemistry, college chemistry, same course name, it can be a totally different environment. The last thing is the contextual skills and awareness. Understanding that college is a system to be navigated, that as a student in college, particularly if you go away to college, you have to advocate for yourself, you have to ask the questions, you have to be proactive and be a little bit more engaged than most of our typical bright high school students have to do. So when I talk about being college ready, this is for the students and for the parents. What we're going to do is prepare for a shift in mindset. Your college student is creating a new identity, and that identity is going to be different than what a parent has experienced for those first 12 and 13 years of school. You have a young adult who is going to separate from you some, is going to make some of their own decisions. They might even stumble and fall a little bit, but you'll be there to support them as they figure it out. Students are learning new strategies and methods for success. And as a parent, along with them, you're learning what are the things that can best support your student as they're going through this different transition where they're learning to be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's where growth happens, right? Growth happens at the end of our comfort zone. I read that somewhere as a nice little quote. I like to use it because I find it to be true, whether it's professional, academic, or personal, right? That's where that growth is going to happen, is outside of their comfort zone. And creating a support system. Hopefully, most of your students, if they are enrolling in a college that's away, will be able to go away in the fall. So as they leave your home and they're creating these new support systems, they're going to kind of be like multifaceted support systems where they have their family and friends from home, but they're also going to create support with family that they choose as friends at college and faculty and staff. And that is going to help them get college ready. And there are things they can start to do now as high school students that will help position them for the best success once they get to college. So what I have for all of you is a personal habits inventory. I'm going to have to kind of stop sharing for just a second so that I can put this thing in the chat for you to have. I'm stopping the full screen share. I'm not stopping the sharing, but I want to put in the chat for you to have a college ready habits inventory that I want the students to have for themselves. If you are the parent, please feel free to get a copy for your child and y'all can work through it together. And so interestingly enough, why did I not think to just go ahead and have it popped up on my screen so that I can see it too, so that we can talk about some of the things that are going to be necessary for that college success once your student gets there. It's a live show, everybody. This is how it happens. All right. Oh. So this is the document that is in that link. It's a Google Drive link. If you've not used Google Drive before, what you can do is, this isn't like a Word document or anything that can be edited, so you totally cannot mess it up. You can either download it directly to your computer, or you can make a copy of it. I think it's on the toolbar is File and Make a Copy for you to have for yourself if you use Google Drive. And if you use Google products, you can put a copy into your own Google Drive. If you don't use Google products, you can download it directly to your computer. So I would like all of our parents, students, attendees, just to take a minute. I think there are 15 points here, or did I get all 20? 15 points here. And for students to kind of ask themselves, are these the things that I'm doing right now? Everybody's not going to be in this most always column. We're going to have some hardly evers, particularly if you have some bright students. You're going to have some hardly evers in there, sometimes, frequently, and most always. And we're not necessarily going to go through it right now because that might take a little bit more time. And I know we have other things on our program, including a wonderful collegiate panel. But I do want you to take some time at some point to kind of look at this as you're preparing for college. These are the types of things that are expected. And so if someone's not doing them now, that's okay. That's fine. We're still in high school. The goal, though, is to move towards more of the items being in most always as they go to college. So this can almost be like a benchmark situation where someone can say, am I prepared to do these things to ensure my college success? And so I call it a personal habits inventory for college ready, to kind of assess college readiness unofficially. But anytime a student can move towards more of the most always, we know they're in a good position. They're ready to buckle down and get to work and ask for help, because that's part of it as well. So I'll get back to the slides so I can talk to you a little bit more about that. All right, so I talk about a college ready mentality. These are the 5 points that I came up with from working with students. I saw it a lot, and I was like, what can I do to help my students get ready? How can I help more students get ready to go to college? So these are just 5 bullet points that I came up with in no particular order. Managing your time, prioritizing activities, knowing when to study, how to study, and being accountable. So one of my colleagues at A&T, because I used to teach there as well, says, in college, you don't have free time. You have time to manage. And I think that is the thing that makes a big difference for a lot of students, is understanding how to create a time management plan and stick to it as much as possible. So I tell students and parents, you can help your students do this at any time. And they probably did something like this as we moved into the pandemic, when they were going to school virtually, to figure out where and how to spend their day. And so you want everyone to decide where to put their time and energy, thinking both short-term and long-term. So like, what are the things that I have to do this week? And then what are my goals for the end of this quarter if I'm in K-12, or end of the semester if I'm a college student? Here's a sample time management plan. I can give you a link to that in the chat as well, that I made for a college student who had 14 hours. One of the things college students don't know going in is that they are expected to spend 2 hours outside of class studying for every 1 hour they are in class. So a student like this one, who has 14 credit hours and is going to study for 28 hours has 42 hours on their schedule already. College is a full-time job, and that's how I like to tell students about it. So I created this sample time management plan where this student has 14 hours. They also have work study, which means they work at the university as part of their financial aid package. They get some sleep, which I know the collegiate sorors are going to say sometimes happens and sometimes doesn't. And they eat all of their meals, but we know, they sleep through meals because that's just what they do when they're in college. So this student has planned how they're going to spend their week. This white space is free time. But if you notice, to get that 28 hours in, this person is studying every day, almost every night. And when you have this plan, you can see where you are going to spend your time. So instead of wondering where your time went, use your time management plan to determine, and you decide where it's going to go. You can shift it around as weeks change, as things come up and you want to do different things. If I know I want to go out on Friday night, because again, hopefully that will be an option once we go back to school in the fall, I need to move this study block somewhere. And I need to figure out, how can I still get this quality time in and still do the things I want to do? People do it all the time. It wasn't me, I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't doing it all the time. But there are people who can do it all the time and they can do it consistently. Find those people. Another part of the college ready mentality is knowing when and how to ask for help. Have your student ask for help day one, because being a good student in college looks a lot different than being a good high school student. Day one, I've had students who will email me prior to the beginning of the semester. It's a wonderful way to be that student. Introduce yourself. Hi, Dr. Such and Such. My name is Dedra. I'm going to be a freshman in your class. Just want to make sure I'm successful. Do you have any tips for me as a new college student? We love that stuff. We love it. Not only do we love it because students see us as people, we also have the opportunity to put faces to names earlier. And we know that there are students who are invested and they know how to express it, because a lot of students are invested, but they don't necessarily know, how can I start this relationship early with my instructor so that if I do have difficulty, they already know me, they know what I'm about, and they can help me. Reaching out to advisors, faculty, and staff on campus also helps your student put themselves in a position where if there's an internship or maybe a job or something like that, we know your student and we can help them get that thing that they need. I've advocated for students when I was working in college environments. I can go talk to someone, I can find out where this resource is. Someone might call me and say, we have a summer position, do you know a student? Students that I know I can recommend. And so that always works to a student's advantage. And then honestly, we know students are going to need letters of recommendation later. So the earlier they can create those relationships when they don't need anything, the better they'll have a recommendation letter when they actually do ask for one. And so when it comes to asking for academic help though, I teach students how to ask specific questions about specific things. Students who are frustrated will say, I don't understand this. And I'll say, what don't you understand? They say everything. I know they really mean it, but the more helpful question is, hey, Dr. Eatmon, I started doing number 13 and I thought I knew what I was doing, but when I checked my answer in the back of the book, it wasn't the same. That lets me know so much more as an instructor, and I can then focus and direct my help to that specific thing, and it turns into another conversation altogether. And one of the other thing I tell students is always be open to what you don't know. So really quickly, I'm gonna go over a couple of things that I kind of focused on 11th and 12th graders for, but I know we have some people who are not quite in high school yet, and we have some students who are early in their high school career. Early in your high school career, start thinking about the classes that you need. What you want to do is take not only classes that interest you, but classes that give you the most options. And I'll tell you as an engineer and a STEM person that having algebra by the 8th grade is the thing that's going to give you the most options in terms of your technical classes, right? So everyone doesn't want to be an engineer. Everyone doesn't want to be a botany major. But if you don't have certain classes aligned, it'll be harder for you to do that once you get to college. So take those harder classes. Don't hurt yourself, but take those harder classes if you have the opportunity to do them in high school, so you can position yourself for as many options as possible once you get to college. So that's the focus when you're a little bit younger. When you're in the 11th grade, hopefully you've established some really good study habits. You're taking your standardized test. Things have been virtual, so you hopefully have been registering for college nights and open houses. And as the world opens back up, you can go visit campuses. You are probably at a place where you're finalizing your 12th grade classes. As you get ready for college, think about the people now who can write your letters for you, because I imagine that a lot of students are going to apply in the fall. And so think about who are those people who can speak well of you and know you beyond your grade and your attendance to let a college know how you'll be a good fit. And also, just like the award from tonight with the Community Jewel Award, keep a record of your volunteer activities, your work activities, and your extracurricular activities. Just keep an activities list so that as you're writing your essays for college and you want to pull things in, you don't have to go searching for when you did this and when you did that. And also that list of activities could also lend itself to recommenders. So think about that. And for parents, I recommend helping your student pull all of this together so they can start to see what is involved in making college happen. Now, my 12th graders, I know y'all are ready for prom and y'all are ready for graduation. Don't slack off on the work so that you can keep those grades up. I've heard horror stories of admissions being rescinded because people were like, I'm in, I'm a senior, I don't have to do anything else. No, you do. You want to make sure that you follow through all the way to the end so that when you send those final transcripts to your college, everything will be good to go. As you're getting college ready now, you're committing and making your deposit to your school of choice, scheduling your orientation dates. Once you have decided on a college, this is the thing that is so important. Check that email from your school every single day. Every day they're sending things that are important, whether it's housing plans or meal plans, deadlines for submitting other documents. Check that email daily, even if that's not part of your habit now. Check it every day so you make sure you don't miss things. Sometimes you can find things in the student portal as well, but make sure you're also checking that. And if there's anything that's not yet been done with financial aid or scholarship, go ahead and wrap that up as soon as you can to make sure that you have as many things as possible in line before it's time for you to go to school in the fall. I say right now, enjoy prom, enjoy graduation. But before you go to graduation, make sure you have your orientation date set. And then after graduation, you can take care of all the other things, your AP scores, your final transcripts, all of that. So for my parents who are in the room, let's talk about being a college-ready parent. You are at a point where your student is shifting. As I mentioned, they're creating a new identity as a college student. And if this is your first time as a college parent, you are creating a new identity as well. One of the biggest things that I see as a challenge to students, particularly when they go to school away from home, is understanding how to advocate for themselves. And they can do that now. Hopefully they're already doing it by handling any type of situation that happens at school, them leading the conversation on how to do things, because once they get to college, there may be grade disputes, things they need to talk to their instructors about. And you want your students to feel as comfortable as possible saying, I can take care of myself, I can do this thing. Even if they call you first, you can make sure that they take care of it on their own. I don't know that anyone here does this, but I know for a fact I have seen some smothering with my freshmen. I've had a student whose parents drove 90 minutes every weekend to come see her. She would say, well, I got to do this work. And they were like, that's okay. We'll just wait over in the student center for you. And what she did, y'all, she chose a summer program that was like 4 states over so that she could make sure she had a summer experience that was not interrupted by her family. She loved them, but she wanted that space to grow. And it was hard for them to let go. She was the first one going off to college. They missed her, little sister missed her, but it was too much for her. And so I think that comes from not having the conversation about what feels right and what's a good balance. And so love on your babies, but know that sometimes they gotta get away. And I'm pretty sure after a year of being in quarantine with them, you might feel like you need some time away as well. And one of the big things I tell parents is just acknowledge your own feelings about what's happening, because it is hard to watch your baby go away, do their thing, maybe stumble and fall, but do it on their own. We can do it. There are lots of resources to help, whether you want to ask Tassel and Tassel some questions, you want to use the resources that are on your college campus, or there might even be, there's actually a really cool Facebook group that I can turn you all onto if you're not already a member, for parents of Black and brown students who are going off to college. And so all you're doing It's getting ready. It's not going to happen immediately. It's going to take some time. Particularly for the students academically, it will take some discipline. Everyone has to give themselves some room to grow in the process. The student as the college attendee, the parent as the first-time college parent, asking for help as a student when you need it, if not before, because again, establishing those relationships before you need the help positions you to be able to really get it and get some really good help. And then lastly, I will say again, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So as students, you have learned a lot of skills this past year that will transfer to college. All of the things that you've been doing in virtual education actually will help you because you've had to reach out in ways that you wouldn't have had to do before because of the virtual education piece. Talk to anybody that you know that's in college now and use social media to follow your university outside of the official accounts. Look for student organizations at that university, look for hashtags associated with that university to give you a balanced view of what you can expect when you get there. Parents and guardians, I just encourage you to promote that independence for your student now as they are finalizing dates, as they are meeting deadlines, as they are checking their email. Engage them and encourage them in doing that, and support them if you like, while allowing them to do it themselves. So going to college is a little bit of a challenge sometimes. And my first book actually handles that. It is a really small book that has 50 bullet points for college freshmen. I personally love it because it says, this is the thing that's important. This is why it's important. And this is what you do. Because I found a lot of times, even when students know they need to do something, they don't always know what to do. So my pleasure is in giving them the language, giving them the verbiage to express the thing that is bothering them so they get what they need a lot easier. If anybody has any questions, I thought I had a question slide, but I don't. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them of me now. If you don't have questions now, my social media platforms are at the bottom. You can feel free to send me a message there or to send an email to me or get with someone in Burlington Alumnae Chapter because they have my contact information. So.
Dr. Eatmon, there are a few questions that we have.
Okay.
One of them is, what accommodations are available in college for students who had an individual educational program or a 504 plan in high school?
Okay, so yes, there are accommodations offices on every college campus. They're called different things, so I can't give you the name of the one at your student's campus, but it is there for them. And you would kind of do the same thing that you do with the IEP or the 504. You would go, I believe a lot of colleges actually have time during orientation to do that. I don't know what it's going to look like because some things are going to be virtual and some things are not, but you would file that paperwork with the university, and then the university has it on file. The difference is that the student will have to share that with their instructor. So as a K-12 educator, I'm told that, but as a college instructor, the student has to tell me that they need the accommodation. Once they've been told, instructors, of course, will accommodate, and whether it's a note taker or extra time or having to be in a separate room during an assessment, I can't even remember. I remember my last institution and it was RCPD. And I don't even remember what that acronym stands for, but every university has that office, and your Office of Admissions can tell you what that is. New student programs can tell you the name of that office that's specifically on your campus. So you were just gonna take that same documentation and file it on the college campus.
Okay, and we do have a few questions that's in the chat that we would like to ask.
Okay.
The first one is, where can we get a copy of the Excel schedule example?
Yes, I will put that in the chat for you. Don't worry about it. I'll put it there, and I will also send it to Burlington Alumnae, send the link to Burlington Alumnae Chapter so that if they want to send it out to all of the registrants for this evening, they can do that as well. This is just a sample. This Excel spreadsheet can be modified though, if you want to do that. And I can't remember if this particular version has a blank one as another tab, but I can get to that too. And then honestly, a lot of colleges have some type of planning system. They'll either give the students a paper planner. Sometimes the student portal has a scheduler in it where it will autofill with the student's class schedule, and then they can go in and put everything else around that.
Okay. We have another question. Do you have any suggestions or tips for graduate students?
Same thing, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That is where I had my worst transition. And so I'm gonna quote a friend of mine who says, going from high school to college and college to grad school is like being an amateur athlete who goes to the pros, where the rules of the game don't change, but the level of play increases. And so you're gonna have a lighter load as a graduate student, but the work that is required of you is gonna be different. And there will be an expectation of putting in more time. There will be an expectation of meeting more students. I mean, it's not the same, but it's very similar to the transition from high school, because you spent 4, maybe 5 years at your undergraduate institution. You know who you know how to work that system. And then you get to graduate school and you have to meet new people and find new people to study with. Depending on where you decide to go to school, just like with college, you may or may not know people who are from your area. There might not be anyone that you kind of take with you to that space. I will say, this is what someone told me when I got to grad school, because I was about to pull out my hair, is to find an outlet. So whether it's, I don't know, yoga, I learned to play racquetball when I was in grad school. I'm not good, but it was a wonderful way for me to kind of get my mind off of the things that were frustrating me, and find a support system. Find a support system, particularly as Black students. Well, things are changing in this world today, but as far as I know, every university has a Black Graduate Student Association. It might not be called that, but every university has a space for minority students. Find that as soon as possible. Everybody there is not going to be your people, but it gives you a wonderful starting point. I will also say, because I'm a Delta, when I get to a new place, I find them Deltas. I find them and I have them there to lift me up and to be my people and to support me as I'm going through whatever this new thing is in my life. And so between trying to find the Black Graduate Student Association, finding other people who might be from your area, like if you're not in a sorority, there may be a local alumni club from your university. See if you can find those people. I ask around, like, try to find some people before you go. And then when you get there, definitely find people. Black Graduate Student Association is a wonderful place to start.
Okay. Any tips for workload during graduate studies?
Oh, Lord. Yeah, yes. Take 9 classes. Not 9 classes, 9 credit hours. I'm sorry. Take 9 credit hours. And depending on how you're funded, if you have the opportunity for a research assistantship over a teaching assistantship, I would say a research assistantship, unless you're interested in teaching. If you're interested in teaching, do the teaching assistantship. I say that because being a teaching assistant takes a lot more time and effort from your day than being a research assistant. And while you have to kind of settle into both, being a teaching assistant can eat up more of your time than you're ready for. So a research assistantship is a good way to go, particularly if you're in a STEM area.
Another question. What's the difference between loans, grants, and scholarships?
Okay, so while financial aid is in my area, I can answer this question. So a loan is money that is borrowed that has to be paid back. The loans come in the form of, there are federal loans. Those are ones that come from like your Sallie Mae's and your Fannie Mae's and Mohila, lenders of that nature. Federal loans would be either subsidized or unsubsidized. Subsidized means that they pay the interest for you while you are in school, so that the interest isn't accruing, and basically you're paying back the amount that you borrow and only the amount you borrow. Unsubsidized loans, the interest is accruing while you're in school. So not only will you pay back the dollar amount that you borrow, but you'll also pay back any interest that accrues on that while you are in school. There are private loans that you can get from different banks and different lenders. Sometimes those aren't as flexible when it comes to refinancing or having deferments, or if something happens later in your life and you have a hardship. Case in point, we're right now in the middle of a pandemic. Federal loans have been suspended multiple times throughout the pandemic, but private loans have not. So anyone who's been negatively impacted in terms of income during the pandemic would still have to find a way to try to pay their private loans. And again, the private loans aren't as flexible in working on deferments. And so that can be something that's a little more tricky to navigate. What was the next one? Grants and scholarships are money that do not have to be paid back. That's what you want. You want a grant or a scholarship. Grants are usually, some of them are federal, but some of them are institutional as well. So when it comes to grants and scholarships, I say start big and then kind of go down, or maybe start from your school and go out, but hit them all. You can find grants are usually from nonprofit entities or kind of federal entities. Don't have to pay them back. You just have to meet the qualifications. Grants don't necessarily require an application process. A lot of scholarships will require an application process. So you may get a scholarship from sororities like Delta Sigma Theta. You might get a book scholarship maybe from your church. Then there are departmental scholarships at your school. You want to look for those. Institutional scholarships. So the university offers scholarships to certain people. At North Carolina A&T State University, they have a National Alumni Scholarship and a Dowdy Scholarship and a Cheatham White Scholarship. So they have these scholarships that come through the institution themselves. And then there are some of the bigger scholarships, like, when people would apply for the Gates Millennium Scholarship. So grants and scholarships do not need to be paid back. Loans do, and there are several types of loans. So you want to make sure you know what type of loan there is. There are also plus loans where a parent can apply with the student to get the loan. That's on the parent as to how they feel about it, because they are financially responsible. Should something go wrong for you, your parent is then responsible to pay back that loan. Some parents will, some parents won't. My parents were like, no, I'm not doing that. You better get them scholarships so that you can make sure you have everything taken care of. But that's the general difference. But there are lots of people who are much better versed at scholarships, grants, and loans and financial aid packages than I am.
Thank you.
Y'all, I am so sorry. I have been putting these things in the Google Drive and I shared them to someone instead of to the entire group. I'm seeing that now. So the college ready inventory is coming for everyone now, and the spreadsheet is going to be next. I apologize.
And no worries at all. We copied them in the chat for you as well.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
And are there any other questions? Okay, we have Cassandra Bradley will be next.
Great. Hello, everyone. And Dr. Eatmon, thank you for that wonderful presentation. Now we will have two of our collegiate students from Elon University. They are also members of Omicron Iota. They will talk to us about their experiences at Elon, things that they would do different, and factors that influence their decision to attend Elon. And first up, we have Briana Edwards. She is a senior at Elon, majoring in media analytics, and she is from Charlotte, North Carolina. And after graduation, she will begin her career as an insight analyst with a marketing firm in Atlanta, Georgia. Next, we will hear from Eukela Little. She is a junior psychology major from Wadesboro, North Carolina. And immediately after Elon, she will take a gap year, but she will enroll into a PhD program with a concentration in social psychology, and long-term, she wants to open up a nonprofit on holistic well-being that will cater to predominantly Black communities. So we're going to listen to Ms. Briana and Ms. Eukela.
Hi, everyone. I guess we can take questions, or I can speak a bit about my experience at Elon first. I am a senior. I graduate next Friday. I don't know how that happened so fast, but yeah, I'm a media analytics major from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I picked Elon because I've grown up around Burlington. My sister went to Elon, and she's also OI. So I've been around Elon for the past 10 years, and I watched it grow, and I was pleased with what I saw when I was applying to college. I enjoyed the process of applying, and I also am a part of the Honors Fellows program, which is like a $6,000 scholarship a year. And that was helpful because Elon's expensive. So that was one of my like main reasons for applying to Elon and coming here, and the perks that came with that fellowship as well. There was a study abroad grant, a research grant, and some special courses. And I wrote a thesis for the program that I just defended 2 weeks ago. So that's why I'm here. Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Eukela Little. I'm a junior, so after Bree graduates in a couple days, it's gonna be my turn. I am from Waysboro, North Carolina, so it's the Charlotte area, but like south of Charlotte. Psychology major I like to give my minors because it all like goes together. I minor in women's gender and sexuality studies and African American studies. I am an Odyssey scholar here, so that's been a great experience. Just one of the programs that we have where you come in cohorts. And I'm also a Lumen scholar here, so that is a research grant fund where you get a wealthy amount, 20 of money to do research, where I focus on self-care within Black women communities. So focusing at how Black women take care of themselves, how Black women uphold this strong Black woman persona, and why it works for us and our benefit, but also to our detriment. So I'm really looking at that and looking at how Black women can continue to be strong Black women, but also learn to take care of themselves. And that's been the evolving as I think about like my Elon career. As far as like choosing Elon, I am a first generation student. And if I'm being completely honest, I was like, if I don't get at least half of a scholarship, like to take over tuition, I'm not going to school. I was just like, I can't afford that. So thank God my scholarship program came along. I have a full ride to Elon, and I was just like, I guess I'm going to Elon. And from there, I found things like the Lumen, which is the research grant that I do, Delta, coming into that, having sisters, and having my cohort and support system. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So
And
we have one question in the chat so far. How did y'all choose your majors?
You want to go, Bree?
Yeah, I'll go. Mine is a doozy. I came into Elon as a film major. I took a film course in high school, and I just thought I was the best thing ever. So I was like, I'm going to be a director. And then I took a class, and I was like, I'm really bad at this. So I switched to graphic design. I'm really bad at that too. And so I had to like take a step back and really understand like why, like what I wanted to do with my life and what I was naturally good at. And that's asking and answering questions. Like Eukela knows, like I like to know things. I'm very curious by nature, investigating problems and stuff. So I finally settled on media analytics, and I found that was the best fit for me. And I realized that I wanted to be a storyteller. I've always wanted to tell stories, but I couldn't do it with moving images or design. So now I tell stories with data. And I've found that I'm really good at that, but I'm like a really good example of why it's okay to change your major. I'm still graduating on time. I have a job. And I was embarrassed at first to change my major. I was ashamed like twice. I was like, yikes, wasting all this money, but it was the best thing I could have done in college. Just switch. That's why I would tell any like incoming student, just change your major. Nobody cares. Graduate, it's expensive. They're not gonna pay for me to stay again for an extra semester. But if you're not feeling it, like fill it out, take a few classes, and then change.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
How was your transition from high school transitioning to a different school, college? For instance, I'm not sure as far as like the ethnic background from your high school, but was it a change going from high school to Elon?
Oh, yes.
And how did you cope? Like, what were some of your coping mechanisms?
I immediately tried to find Black women. I was like, where are they at? I need friends. I went to the Creed, which is our like Black student union, like our little hangout space. I was like, where are the Deltas at? I know that they do stuff on campus. Like, I want to be one of them. But I went to a really urban high school in Charlotte, like really rough Title I, all of our teachers are Teach for America, so they're constantly rotating out, and really poor school. And I came to Elon and people are driving like Porsches and like the first model of the Tesla. And I'm like, what's this? How do you afford that? So that was a really difficult transition with the wealth that is Elon. And so I just try to find people that were like-minded and understand that the students aren't rich, the parents are. And that really helped me like humanize some like the really rich kids I saw walking around campus. Like, we both work in the same office. You don't have this much money. Like, we both get paid now. Your parents is well off. And so I think that definitely helped with the transition, like understanding that we are on level ground when it comes to the amount of money we have coming in. But that was definitely something that was on my mind a lot. And when I first got here, just like the money that some of these students could have coming in with their families and stuff and their life experiences. Like, people spend their summers in Europe, in Australia. And I'm like, I work every summer. So that was difficult, but I just have to put my head down and get it done and know that I want to make that happen for my children. So that's been like my saving grace, just having that desire to do that. But it was difficult for a little while.
Mhm.
I think mine was a bit interesting. And so I don't know, everyone wasn't in the Zoom earlier, but Dr. Eatmon, I don't know if you're still there, but I know of Dr. Eatmon from the School of Science and Math in Durham. So I was in boarding school my last 2 years. It was a STEM boarding school. So I've been away I'm 21 now, but I've been away from home doing like this college-esque thing for about 5 years now, which was very interesting. So similar to Bree, my first 2 years of high school, I'm from Anson County, if anyone's heard of the county. I'm from Wadesboro. If you've heard of Wadesboro, people pass through it to go to the beach. And that's predominantly Black area. So kind of used to that Title I school, needing that funding type of thing. So I mean, Black people is all I've known. That's what I'm comfortable with. That's who I'm with. Like I was like, Bree, I came to Elon. I went to NCSM. I was like, where are the Black people? Like, this is where I am. So from Anson to NCSSM, School of Science and Math, that was a transition because I went from coming from an area that was like 60-ish% Black to like NCSM. At the time I was there, it was like 10% Black. Then I got to Elon where it's like 4% Black. So I was just like, all right. So my academic transition was pretty much the same. And in a lot of ways kind of lightened in the way that like NCSSM works as like a school. The social change was really a lot for me, just like going up into that and then being like the only one, going from being one of the only ones in my classroom to like one of the few in my major type of thing. So it's just kind of like, oh, like, wow, what is this? And it really just took finding my support group, finding those people. I'm grateful to have entered with the cohort. So some of the very same people that I'm like, some of my closest friends now are not only like my cohorts, but also my line sisters. So like we've been trekking through Elon all together. And so just finding my people, working in the CREED, which is again, the student hub for students of color, Black students and things like that. So just really like finding those things that felt like home and just honing in on those, even if I know like, hey, like all of my friends there in performing arts and cinema, like we're not gonna see each other in class, but I'll see you for dinner. And just really just like going to what I know and what felt good.
I know you both have started talking about really the importance of community and having really social networks to get you through undergrad. And so could you talk a little bit more about that process of finding your people at Elon, and how has it kind of propelled you forward in your college experience, being both a senior and junior currently?
I think it's been the most important thing. I didn't really understand the phrase birds of a feather flock together until I got to college. And I realized that I wanted to match the energy of my peers, especially when I became a Delta and like I saw my line sisters were like on this board and doing this and doing that. And I was like, if y'all are gonna be my social network, I need to get some things together. I need to do more, or at least improve myself. So I think that's one of the most important things, is to hold yourself accountable and like your friends will too. Because it's very easy in college to just slip in and out of class. Like your professors aren't gonna track you down for lunch. Like at December 6th, like you're done with the class for first semester, and like in May, second semester. So I think that intentionality of finding that support network, because it won't find you. If you don't go to lunch with someone, they're not going to keep texting you. And I learned that the hard way my first year. I was very shy when I first came to Elon, and so I didn't have a support network for like the first semester. And so I intentionally like got out of my comfort zone to meet new people. And that's like really close friends, like my line sisters, people who aren't Greek, and then like sometimes you meet class friends too. If you miss class, you need the notes, or if you want to like study for a quiz together. So I think having different networks in like different sectors of college has been the best thing that I've learned through experience to do.
Yeah, I'd agree to that. I honestly like, especially in this time of, I'm thinking now like out of the 6 semesters I've done in college now, at least half of it has been done virtually, like in Zoom. Like I spent all of my junior year virtual. So really like having those support systems have helped a lot, just like leaning in on them. Even after I reflect over like this just past year, I'm like, honestly, the only thing that made this bearable were those support systems, or having them where like, you know, you're gonna have those things that you just have to get through in college. Like I gotta write this paper, I gotta take this test. But really being able to like after the fact just be like, hey, like let's go get ice cream. Hey, let's watch a movie or something like that. So really just like just doing what feels good. Is that, oh, I was like, is that me? Oh my God. And so just really just like finding those things, and also just like during Zoom, and I don't know what school's gonna look like post-COVID, if there even is gonna be like a post-COVID, but really like learning to find like hobbies outside of school. I think my biggest thing this year is that if I wasn't on Zoom and didn't have to be in Zoom, it's like I tell my people all the time, like I've spent so much time in this apartment and I don't know what I like to do. Like, I'm like, what do I do when I'm not in class? I don't have to physically go anywhere now. I can turn my computer off and it's like, all right, now what? So really like finding things and like taking like in all of that, like especially all my friends and I'm talking about like our next year being out last year. So we really want to like find things that we actually enjoy doing outside of this identity of being a student. Like, that's what I'm on and like what I've learned through these past 3 years.
Yes, thank you both for sharing so far. It's making me think about the time management sheet that Dr. Eatmon shared as a resource, and thinking about a sense of balance. And so I'm curious, kind of moving forward, how have you balanced your time in terms of the academic rigor of being a student at Elon and really honing in on your academics and research? How have you tried to balance that with your social life and the different clubs and extracurriculars that you're a part of?
Definitely a planner. I use Google Calendar a lot, and since it's been the end of the year, I haven't been as adamant in doing it. And my sisters will tell you now, if it's not in my calendar, 9 times out of 10, I am not there because my phone is not reminding me of that. But really just like putting things in my calendar and remembering, like, I think the biggest thing, especially for students of color, is just remembering there's more to you than like being a student, especially on PWI campuses where like Elon, like you see students all the time that don't have to worry about their GPA because they know that like they can go wherever in their family. They got a company and a job waiting for them after they graduate, where a lot of Black and brown students don't really have that leeway. So especially on Elon's campus, you see it a lot where Black and brown students are so driven on like working and getting money and making sure their grades are right because you're on scholarship, so your grades can't drop. But you really forget to have fun. And then you're like me, where you're a junior and you're like, oh, what are my hobbies outside of my work? Like I would get into things where I would like meet new people and stuff like that. And they'd be like, well, what do you like to do? And I'm like, I would literally give them things I do as a student. And I'm like, I can't be 25, like, oh, hey, this is what I do. Like, who am I? And so really, I'm still figuring it out. I don't even have an answer for it, actually. Like, I'm actually just really still figuring it out. I bought a crossword puzzle book, listening to music. I'm really like exploring what is life as not a student, like throughout my whole career, I've worked, like I think school started August. School year starts at the end of August, early September. My first year, I was working by October. Like I had a month as a first year to just be a student, and I was already working. Then my sophomore year, I had 3 jobs, and I was doing all these extracurriculars and doing research. And then like I'm getting to my junior year, and it's like, wow, what do I do outside of like providing for myself and doing research and making all these grades? So I don't really have an answer for it. If y'all have an event next year, get back to me. Maybe I'll have a different one.
We do have a question in the chat, and it says, what are the benefits of living on campus?
I lived on campus for 3 years. I wish I was there right now. I'm off campus right now in an apartment, but I just think the proximity to the events that your school will have in the evenings is one of the biggest benefits that you have to living on campus. I told myself that I would go back to campus after 5 for like Elon's events, and it hasn't happened, and I graduate next Friday. So there's just a lot that you may miss out on as like a first year or a sophomore. When you're trying to build those networks, you have to go to the events to meet your friends. So on my first year, I met my best friends in the Creed one night. The Creed had like a movie night, and we just happened to get up and get popsicles at the same time. And now I'm probably gonna be in their wedding. It just happens that way, but you have to like step outside of your room and go to those things. And it's just a bit harder to do that when you're not on campus. And then security and safety. I live in like a regular adult apartment right now, and I have a landlord. And so campus security, their jurisdiction does not come out here. So if something happens, I'll have to call like the Burlington Police Department instead of like going through Elon, which I think is like a cleaner pipeline sometimes when it comes to certain stuff. And not having an RA, I've been an RA for 2 years, 2.5, and having to handle like that roommate or suite mate conflict without residents like holding someone accountable was definitely like a change that I noticed living out here. My roommate is in her 30s. And if she don't do the dishes, she's just not gonna do the dishes. Like I can't kick her out. So I think that's been like one of the most difficult things that I've experienced living off campus. So yeah, if I could live on campus in an apartment, I would I would do that for sure. It's just expensive. I do save a lot of money off campus though.
I think we have time for just one more question. It says, my grades are just average. How do I make myself stand out during the college admissions process?
I actually work in admissions. I was just talking to a student the other day about this. I think that one of the most important things for making yourself stand out is to interact with the university early. So universities always track interactions. So if you send an email to your counselor, it's in your file because I have to pull them up every day so I see them. If you come to a tour, if you call for a question, they're gonna write that down, and they want to see that long history of like you're really interested. And then if you're comfortable, I would apply early decision. Here's an early action. Whichever one is binding, you're more likely to get into university if you apply, because you're not applying against as many people. Because if you apply regular decision, that's like half the country trying to get in at the same time, versus if you're applying against like 20 people, you're more likely to get in. But it's not always about grades. I've learned that as I've matriculated in university, it's not always about grades or anything like that. Just make sure like your essays stand out and everything. Yeah.
Okay. And we have just one last question. What's your advice about living on campus your freshman year?
Living on campus, definitely reach out to the people on your hall that'll more than likely be the first few people that you come in contact with if you haven't already been on campus, or if you didn't come in with a cohort. Getting to know them, and like I'm pretty sure they probably do this for every school, but like at Elon especially, like we had our hall meetings, so everybody had to kind of like get to know each other's names, do icebreakers and things like that, because those are literally the people you're living with for at least that semester, if not that a whole year, if you don't switch rooms and things like that. So start with your hall. Definitely go to the hubs if you identify, or even if you don't, but like go to places where you're comfortable. So like there's BSUs almost on every campus, or like cultural centers. Going to those places. I know a lot of schools do like org fairs and things like that. Like that first 3 weeks of school, I know Elon especially, we kind of have like this thing where it's like that first 3 weeks, we know that first years are going to be looking for their people, looking for their group, looking for their niche, which is why we have so many events, which is why a lot of schools at the beginning of the year have so many events. It's because they know people are going to be looking for other people to hang out with and things like that. So definitely go to those types of events. Like I have friends who are juniors now that talk about they wish they had went out to places as a first year, even if it was you and your roommate, especially if you're having a roommate, like that's really gonna be your first friend almost. So just taking them and just being like, hey, like you wanna go here, you wanna go do that, but just really branching out and using those first 3 weeks as your benefit. And then from there, you're more than likely going to find your group of people to get further involved into things.
I second that, Eukela. I think that another thing to keep in mind your first year, as far as like living arrangements, is your like conflict style. Like, how do you disagree with people? So now my roommate, in our freshman year, we stopped talking. She stopped talking to me. She was racist. So that was the whole backstory for that one. But that's another, like you're living with strangers and you don't know how they were raised, how they clean, how they handle conflict. So I think you need to have a good understanding of like how you were raised, how you clean, and how you handle conflict. And then you can like, you know, kind of address those situations as they come. So you're not in May speaking to your roommate like the third time the whole year. And just like know when to speak up to your RA. I didn't speak up soon enough, and I ended up living with the girl who had was historically not kind to Black and Brown students. So yeah, I wish I would have spoken up. And so I always tell my residents, or when I was an RA, I would tell them like if something happens, like you have to, you know, advocate for yourself to resident type in your RA to remedy those situations before you end up like me, not having a good time at home. I dreaded going home my first year every day that she was there. So yeah, you just have to advocate for yourself. I think it's the most important thing.
Wow. Okay. We will now move the program to Ms. Rivers.
For me, as a parent of a senior, I found this very helpful for me. Dr. Eatmon, I know now that I do have to work on my smothering piece because she's my only child. So I just asked for a little prayer for that, but I did find this very helpful for me. We were gifted your book by Sora Phyllis, and we found that to be most helpful. But at this time, it brings us to the end of our seminar and our program. And on behalf of the Burlington Alumni Chapter and the May Week Committee, we want to thank you, Dr. Eatmon, for your time and information sharing in support of our area high school students and their parents. And also thank you to Briana and Eukela Little for sharing your college experiences with us tonight. For those that join us, we thank you as well, and we hope that you found this information helpful as you make plans for yourself or your loved ones beyond high school. Thank each of you and have a good night.